Hello, it's Monica. I would like to talk to you all about diagnoses. I am trained as an acupuncturist and I see people regularly in a clinic, and people come in and tell me all sorts of diagnoses that they've received from other practitioners or from themselves and the internet. And I have been watching for a few years as people bring these diagnoses in, and I've been looking at what it is that creates. I was, like I said, trained as an acupuncturist, and we were taught to always function with a diagnosis so that we could check ourselves and see if anything is getting worse or getting better, or if we're right on track. And I've always had a hard time with this. Maybe not always, but I have had a hard time with this. And I've been wondering, what is it about this that has been so difficult for me? And part of it is that the body is ever changing. And sometimes when we get a diagnosis, it may be one moment in time that we then believe is the whole picture. So it's kind of like if you were to take a picture of me in the morning and I was yawning, and then you were to say, "Oh my God, Monica, you have this mouth open problem." Even though in a second later or before then, I could have had my mouth closed. And often when we go to the doctor and we get imaging done and tests done, the same thing may be true. It may be a second that your blood sugar is high. It may be a second that your blood pressure is high. But we can be given these diagnoses and then take them on and believe them, be stressed out about them, be concerned about them, whatever. And I had this really interesting encounter in my clinic a little while ago that really drove home the impact that a diagnosis can have. There was a patient who came in, and for those of you who haven't seen me in the clinic, I like to do a lot of physical assessment to listen directly to the body and see what it is that the body's saying on that day in that moment. And as I was talking to this person, I couldn't find any problem. Her body was like super vibrant and alive, and she was happy, and she had been sleeping well, and there was nothing that was upsetting her digestion. She was great. And I almost felt like saying, "Hey, go home. I'll give you your money back. You're fine. You don't need anything." And as I was just about to do that, kind of searching for what do I do, she said, "Oh, you know what? I have this problem." And the instant that she said, "I have this problem," everything changed. All of a sudden, findings that had not been there a second before showed up. And it kind of gave me a map via the channel pathways and the acupuncture meridians. It gave me a map of what to do, which points were active. And so I treated them. But I thought that it was so interesting that it wasn't until she said, "Oh, I have this problem," that the problem showed up. And I'm curious, what is it that we create when we agree with these different diagnoses that we're given? Have you been given a diagnosis that you have decided was true and the whole story simply because somebody that you trusted told you that was the case? What would it be like if you were to ask some questions whenever anybody tries to diagnose you. The next time that that same patient came in, it was really similar. She started off feeling great, her body was doing well, and then she said something again, Maybe I pushed her. I did, because I wanted to see if the same thing would happen. So she was happy. She actually didn't tell me about any problems, but I said, oh, what about this problem? And all of a sudden she said, oh, it's true. And everything came up again. All of those points were active again. And then I said, hey, what was that? What did you just do? And she looked a little bit confused, and we talked for a little bit, and I asked her a bunch of questions about who gave her this diagnosis, how long had she been told that this was the case with her, and would she be willing to let that idea go? And it took a little bit of talking, but before I put any needles in, all of the points that seemed active or like they were asking for something, they all quieted down, and everything was clear again. How cool is that? How powerful are we that we can create these traumas in our bodies by believing that we are traumatized, by believing that we have a problem. So I don't have any particular agenda with this other than to ask, what if you didn't believe all of the definitions that people have given you about you? What would be possible for you in your life if you could hear the things that people suggest and ask questions about them? Oh wow, is my blood sugar high? Huh, interesting. What would it take for my blood sugar to regulate? Is my blood pressure high? Huh, what would it take for my blood pressure to lower? Would you be willing to let go of all of those definitions of you? And if you do, would you let me know what you discover? I'm really curious. All right, thank you.